I am going to give you 2 rules today, just 2, not a system with 20 conditions, not a strategy that takes 45 minutes to analyze, not a course, not a mentor, not a Discord group, 2 rules. And if you follow both of them completely without exception, without bending them when the market is exciting or when you are frustrated or when you are absolutely certain about a trade, you will never blow a trading account again. I want to say that one more time because I need you to really hear it. If you follow these 2 rules without exception, you will never blow a trading account again. Not because the rules guarantee winning trades, they do not. You will still have losing trades, you will still have bad weeks, you will still have periods where nothing seems to work, but you will never blow an account. You will never destroy everything you built in one terrible session. You will never go from a growing account to 0 because of one emotional decision or one streak of bad luck. And here is the thing about never blowing an account. If you never blow an account, you stay in the game. And if you stay in the game long enough, with enough consistency, you give your edge the time it needs to work. You give yourself the time you need to learn and improve. You give compounding the time it needs to do what compounding does. Most traders never become profitable, not because they lack a good strategy, but because they blow their account before their strategy has time to prove itself. Before they have time to develop the skills that only come from sustained experience in the market, these 2 rules prevent that. They are the foundation of everything. Let me give them to you. Rule number 1. Never risk more than 1% of your account on any single trade. That is it, 1%. No exceptions. If your account is $10,000, your maximum risk on any trade is $100. If your account is $50,000, your maximum risk is $500. If your account is $200,000, your maximum risk is $2,000. 1%. Every trade. Always. Now, I already know what is happening in your head right now. 1% is nothing. I cannot make real money risking 1%. I need to risk more to grow my account. 1% is for people who are afraid. Real traders take real risks. I have heard every version of this objection, and every version of it comes from the same place. The ego. The ego wants to trade big because big feels serious. Big feels committed. Big feels like you are really trying. Small feels timid. Small feels like you are not confident in your own trades. But here is what the ego does not understand. 1% is not about confidence in any individual trade. 1% is about the mathematical reality of trading over a large sample. Let me show you what 1% actually means in practice. If you risk 1% per trade, you can lose 100 consecutive trades and still have 36% of your account left, 100 losing trades in a row. And you still have more than a third of your money. Now think about what happens when you risk 10% per trade. 10 losing trades in a row and you have less than 35% of your account. That is 10 trades, not 100. 10 and losing streaks of 10 or more happen to every trader with every strategy. Not sometimes, regularly. That is just how probability works. At 10% risk, a normal losing streak destroys you. At 1% risk, a normal losing streak is just a normal losing streak. You are still in the game. You can still trade tomorrow, but it goes even deeper than that. When you risk 1%, something happens to your psychology that changes everything. The trade stops being threatening. Think about the last time you had a trade go against you and you panicked. You moved your stop. You held past your exit rules. You added to a losing position. You made every mistake you knew you should not make. Why did that happen? Not because you did not know better. You knew exactly what you should have done. But the loss was too large for your nervous system to handle calmly. Your survival instincts activated. And survival instincts do not care about your trading rules. They just want the pain to stop. But when you risk 1%, when the maximum loss on any trade is $100 on a $10,000 account, the survival instincts do not activate at the same intensity. Because $100, while real money, does not threaten your survival. It does not threaten your ability to pay rent or feed your family or keep trading tomorrow. And without the survival instincts in full activation, you can think clearly. You can follow your rules. You can honor your stop loss when it is hit instead of moving it. You can let your winners run instead of cutting them early because you are afraid of giving back profit. 1% risk is not just money management. It is psychological management. It is the mechanism that keeps your rational brain in charge when the market is testing you. This is what Mark Douglas taught his entire career. He said that the size of your position determines the intensity of your emotional response. And the intensity of your emotional response determines whether you follow your rules or abandon them. 1% keeps the intensity manageable, and manageable intensity means consistent execution. And consistent execution means your edge can actually work. Never risk more than 1%. No exceptions. Not when you are certain. Not when the setup is perfect. Not when you are trying to recover losses from last week, 1%. Always rule number 2. Always know your exit before you enter. Before you click that buy or sell button, you must know 2 things with complete certainty: where you are getting out if the trade goes against you, and where you are getting out if the trade goes in your favor. Not approximately, not a general area. The exact price, the exact level, decided before you enter, written down before you enter, entered into your platform as an order before you enter, both exits, every time. Before you are in the trade, this sounds simple. It is not practiced by most traders. And the gap between knowing this rule and actually following it is where most trading accounts go to die. Let me explain why this rule is so powerful. When you are not in a trade, you can think clearly. You can look at the chart without emotional involvement. You can identify the logical level where your trade thesis is proven wrong. You can identify the obvious target where price is likely to move if your thesis is correct. You can calculate the risk to reward objectively. But the moment you enter the trade, your objectivity disappears. Now you have skin in the game. Now the price movement is personal. Every tick against you feels like a threat. Every tick in your favor feels like something you need to protect. From that emotional state, exit decisions are almost never made well. The stop gets moved because the loss feels unbearable. The winner gets cut because the profit feels fragile. The logical decisions you would have made before the trade get replaced by emotional reactions during the trade. Deciding your exits before you enter removes this problem completely. Before you are in the trade, you decide where you are wrong. That becomes your stop loss. It goes in the platform as a hard order before you click enter. Now it does not matter how you feel when price approaches that level. The order is already there. It executes automatically. The emotion does not get a vote. Before you are in the trade, you decide where you are right. That becomes your target. It also goes in the platform. Now when the trade is working and the greed is telling you to hold for more and the fear is telling you to take profit now, neither of those emotions controls the outcome. The order is already there. You made the decision when you were calm. You execute the decision automatically. Your emotional state during the trade is irrelevant because the decisions were already made. This is the closest thing to removing emotion from trading that actually works in the real world, not eliminating your emotions. Removing their ability to influence the decisions that matter most. Now let me talk about the relationship between these two rules, because they are not just two separate ideas. They work together as a system. Rule 1, 1% risk, determines how much you lose if your stop is hit. Rule 2, always know your exit, ensures that your stop gets hit at the right place and at the right time. Not moved, not ignored. Hit at the level you predetermined when you were thinking clearly. Together, these rules create something that most traders never experience: certainty. Not certainty about whether the trade will win or lose. That is never knowable. But certainty about the worst-case scenario before you enter. When you enter a trade with 1% risk and a predetermined stop loss, you know exactly what the maximum damage is. 1% of your account. That is the worst it can get. Not 2%, not 5%, not your entire account if the market moves against you and you freeze and cannot exit. 1%. And you already accepted that before you entered. That certainty, knowing the absolute worst case before you start, is what allows you to stay calm during the trade. Because there are no unknowns. You already know the worst that can happen, and you already decided it is acceptable. Let me be completely honest with you about something. These two rules will not make every trade profitable. They will not turn a losing strategy into a winning one. They will not eliminate bad weeks or drawdowns or periods of uncertainty. What they will do is keep you in the game. And staying in the game is everything, because here's the truth about becoming a profitable trader. It takes time. It takes real experience in the market. It takes going through periods of difficulty and learning from them. It takes the kind of repetition that only comes from executing hundreds or thousands of trades over months and years. But you can only get that experience if your account is still alive. The traders who blow their accounts never get the experience they need. They are always starting over, always rebuilding from zero, always in the early stage of the learning curve, and the early stage of the learning curve is where losses happen. The traders who protect their capital, who follow Rule 1 and Rule 2 without exception, accumulate experience without accumulating catastrophic losses. They go through difficult periods, they have losing months, but they survive them, and on the other side of them, they are better traders with more experience and an account that is still intact. That is the compounding that most traders never talk about. Not just the compounding of money, the compounding of experience, skill, and psychological resilience. 1% risk and predetermined exits compound your experience without destroying your capital. And over time, that combination produces something that no shortcut can replicate: a trader who knows how to trade with an account that is still there to trade. Now, I want to address the traders who are already thinking about exceptions. What about a trade that is so obvious, so clear, so perfectly set up that it deserves more than 1%? No, there is no trade that deserves more than 1%, ever. The feeling that a trade is obvious or certain is not information about the trade. It is information about your emotional state. The more certain you feel about a trade, the more likely it is that you are seeing what you want to see rather than what is actually there. Markets are uncertain. Every professional trader who has been doing this for years knows this at a bone-deep level, not intellectually, in their bones. Because they have seen the obvious trade fail. They have seen the perfect setup go against them. They have been absolutely certain and absolutely wrong more times than they can count. 1% protects you from your own certainty, which is the most dangerous thing in trading. What about when you are on a losing streak and you need to make the money back faster, especially then? No, increasing your risk to recover losses faster is one of the most common ways trading accounts die. You are already in an emotionally compromised state from the losing streak. Your judgment is already affected. Adding more risk in that state compounds the problem. Stick to 1%. Let the edge work at 1%. The account will recover if the edge is real and the execution is consistent. What about when you are very confident in your stop placement and the distance to the stop is very small? Even then, calculate 1% of your account. Size your position so that if the stop is hit, you lose 1%, no matter how tight the stop is, because the goal is not to control the dollar amount of the stop. The goal is to control the percentage of the account at risk. Those are different things, and 1% of account is the number that matters, 1%. Always. No exceptions. These are the two rules. Never risk more than 1% of your account on any single trade. Always know your exit before you enter. Two rules. Simple, non-negotiable, completely transformational if you actually follow them. I cannot make you follow them. Nobody can. You already knew some version of these rules before you watched this video. Every trader does. The knowledge is not the problem, the execution is the problem, and the execution comes down to one decision. A decision you make right now, before your next trade, do you follow the rules this time, every time, without exception, or do you keep doing what you have been doing? Because what you have been doing has produced what you have been getting, and what you have been getting is probably not what you actually want. Two rules. That is all, to follow them. If this video gave you something real today, if it cut through the noise and showed you something you can actually use, hit that like button right now, Six Stews, because this channel is built on one belief. That simple, disciplined, consistent trading beats complex, emotional, inconsistent trading every single time. And leave a comment below. Tell me honestly, have you been following these two rules? If not, which one do you break most? Rule 1 or Rule 2? I read every single comment. Everyone, protect your capital. Know your exits. Stay in the game. See you in the next video.